Iguodala to Curry, back to Iguodala, up for the layup. Oh, blocked by James. Curry, one-on-one. Irving puts it up. It's good. Kyrie Irving from downtown. The three, steps back, crossover, puts up a three. Rebound James. Second. It's over. It's over. Cleveland is a city of champions once again. The Cavaliers are NBA champions.
Cleveland! This is for you!
Cavs fans, welcome to another edition of The Block, the Shot to Stop, a podcast covering the Cleveland Cavaliers, brought to you by the Blue Wire Podcast Network. He's Skylar Webker. I'm Kevin Lynch, coming to you from a beautiful JW Marriott in downtown Indianapolis. Here to talk about the Cavs' 14th 1-4 straight win tonight against the Bucks. 112-100. Something that was a fairly close game for most of the way, but the Cavs never really gave up the lead. Every time the Bucks kept closing it to like 5, and then they'd stretch it back to 10, and then eventually pulled away there the last few minutes of the fourth quarter. Skylar, we're going to talk all about the game tonight and everything, but I wanted to start out. I'm breaking Cavs news. No one knows this. Not you, not anybody else. This is my Cavs news from today. I recruited the newest member of the Cavs fan club today. Brought in a brand new fan. Yes. Today I was hanging out with my buddy Daniel. He's 6 months old, and he was pulling on my Cavs lanyard and playing with it. And I asked him if he wanted to be a Cavs fan, and he got a big smile, and then he passed gas. So I don't know. I don't know if you can get a better yes than that.
Hey, I mean, you got to start him early, man.
That's
Get him on the bandwagon early.
It's actually back in high school. It's the same response a girl had when I asked her the prom. So no, shout out to you. I just had a fun day with them, and was you got to get them in early, right? I mean, we
absolutely
use all the fans. But anyway, baby Daniel aside, let's talk some Cavs again. Kind of just a ho-hum win, just the beat goes on kind of thing. Nothing particularly stood out tonight. If anything did, it was the inequity of the benches on the two teams. The final total was the Cavs bench outscored Milwaukee's bench 43-21. That was a little bit skewed by like about 4 minutes of garbage time, and Milwaukee brought some guys in. I think midway through the fourth quarter, the advantage was 33-9 for the Cavs. So where do you want to start when it comes to this game in particular? Do you want to talk about the bench, or is there something else I'm missing?
Yeah, we can start with the bench. We had a lot of guys come in, and like you said, the game was close pretty much all the way through up until the Cavalanche there at the end. But these guys came in, especially off the bench, and hit big time shots. Okoro hit a well-needed 3. Sam Merrill hit some daggers. Dean, it was good to see Dean Wade come in and kind of get some offensive momentum going, especially when you're against Damian Lillard and Giannis Antetokounmpo. So it's good to see those guys just come in and get some scoring, and particularly on nights that, two of our big four, core four, didn't really have it going. Kind of a poor shooting night for Darius Garland and Donovan Mitchell. Because both of them together, 4 for 13, 4 for 15. So, not great numbers for these guys at all. You could tell that they were feeling kind of frustrated. So it's great to see the bench mob come out and, contribute at a high level like that.
I agree. And I think even more, I maybe could have phrased it better than just the bench. Really, I think the story of the game is the balance from the team, right? Mm-hmm. There's not many NBA games where you see a team win and their leading scorer scores 17 points. And but all 5 guys, 17 points to the leading scorer, all 5 starters were in double digits. And then the bench had 43 points without having one guy in double digits, which speaks to just the balance and the length of the bench that the Cavs have, right? That they have so many different guys coming in, hitting a few shots here and there, kind of picking their spots to contribute. And I thought it was just a really, really good game or an enjoyable game to watch because you could see what separates Cleveland from Milwaukee. And it's not Milwaukee has two of the best players in the league. I will take nothing away from Giannis or Dame Lillard. They're both phenomenal, but they don't have the talent up and down the roster that the Cavs have. The Cavs can, kind of, match that or somewhat, limit Giannis and Dame as much as you can, or at least make it tough for them. I mean, they went 4-0 against Milwaukee this year. The previous two games, Dame had, I think, 41 and 36 in those two games, and the Cavs still won, right? So I like that. That was the best, or the thing that stood out the most from the night, and the most encouraging thing for the Cavs fans is that you can see the difference with these two teams is the talent past the top 3 or 4 guys on the roster.
Yeah, that's one thing that I don't know if blessing or curse or whatever it is, but with these games, a lot more games being nationally televised, we have to hear Stephen A. Smith and Kendrick Perkins a lot more. And I put the tweet out before the game, like the more I hear Kendrick Perkins talk, the less and less I like of Kendrick Perkins. Like he was just like, I'm going with the Bucks. It's a Bucks all the way. And even Stephen A. Smith has been a huge Cavs supporter this year. And he was saying, like, the Bucks have 2 guys.
Yeah.
Everybody outside of that is like the Cavs have 15 guys that can actually play.
Yes. I don't even want to get into Stephen A. Smith there. I could go off on that. But the one thing I'll say about Perkins, I said this at the beginning of the year, and it still holds true. I don't think I said it on the podcast, but I said it to friends. I can't take you everything that's wrong with sports journalism and ESPN in particular these days is the fact that ESPN fired Zach Lowe and gave Kendrick Perkins a raise. That is the most glaring indictment of sports media that I've seen in a world of sports of them. I mean, Kendrick Perkins is just. He's terrible.
He is terrible. And I don't understand it.
Him aside. But it's funny you kind of say this, and we'll get back to the game in a second, but this is something I was thinking about earlier, is that, like, I was kind of like, what exactly do Cavs fans want? Because at the beginning of the year, it was all like, we're not getting enough national coverage. We're not getting all this kind of thing. Now it seems like they're on national TV like every other game, and we do get it. But now the downside is you have to listen to Kendrick Perkins and the ESPN podcast. Like the broadcast the other night, the one with Richard Jefferson and Mark Jones, they're phenomenal. I love them. Mm-hmm. But yeah, so I was kind of wondering that, like, especially as I was seeing some comments, I'm like, which way, what do we want as Cavs fans? Do we want to get all the praise and the acknowledgement that this Cavs team deserves? Or would we rather stay under the radar? Because this feels like I've seen kind of complaining when both have happened.
I like the national broadcast teams, like the do the game call-in. I like that. It's the commentary teams, the post-game, halftime, those teams that, like, I don't want to hear. I don't want to hear.
I totally get it, but that's part of the package, right? Like, if they're going to do commentary on the game they're broadcasting, right? Whatever it is, and sometimes maybe you get lucky and it's like TNT and those guys, or maybe it's Stephen A. Smith and Kendrick Perkins. So yeah, no, that's all a part of it. I was kind of thinking, like, I would rather. Let's go back to being underappreciated and off national TV and just kind of like keep to ourselves until playoffs.
Hey, I'm fine. I'm fine with John and Brad Doherty for 82 games, man.
Yeah, you and me both. By the way, I was in the car, so I listened to the first half on the radio. I think it was the first time I listened at least to a significant portion of the game and enjoyed the broadcasting. I apologize. I don't know the play-by-play guy's name, but Jim Jones, the color guy, he's hilarious. Very much like Austin Carr, actually. I would say they're 2 peas in a pod. So I actually enjoy listening to a game kind of on the radio broadcast for the first time. I enjoyed that this evening. So there is a couple of guys that we should highlight from tonight. Max Strus and Sam Merrill debating who I want to go with first. Let's go with Sam first, because I kind of saw a stat in passing, so I looked it up and got a little bit more specific. In this 14, so setting it up, Sam Merrill, we said we think he's a very valuable player. His biggest asset is his 3-point shooting, but he was having a little bit of an underwhelming 3-point shooting year, at least for for a good portion of the season. This 14-game winning streak, Sam Merrill is shooting 50% from three on almost 5 attempts a game. Yes. And so he has completely kind of shifted his stats for the year in just this last, 3-4 weeks, to where now he's up to 37% before tonight on threes, which is an above average clip and climbing. So, and that's good to see, because I think that is the asset that people think of him for the most, and maybe his best one, but I actually think he's a little bit underrated as an overall player. He's a really tough defender, not the best defender in the world, but a very tough one, gives great effort, seems to just make a lot of winning plays, a lot of loose balls, set a good screen, things like that, along with obviously hitting a timely shot. And yeah, I think he's been a really solid contributor all year, but it's really kind of ticked up here the last few weeks.
I feel like that's been everybody the last few weeks. I mean, I saw the funny stat on X or Twitter or whatever the hell you want to call it, is that since getting Reggie, the golden retriever dog, since then the Cavs are 14-1, and obviously with DeAndre Hunter they were 11-0. Now it's 12-0, 15-1. I mean, those got to be the best additions to the team, man. I think just adding that dog is making everybody play better.
You don't have to convince me. I mean, I've yet to been in a situation where a dog made it worse. So
yeah, exactly.
Huge dog guy over here. So I'll buy that into that theory all day. And then the other guy, like I said, I wanted to point out was Max Strus. Max had a really good game, particularly in the first half. He had 17 points. All or almost all of them coming in the first half. I don't remember, but it was quite a bit. He also led the team in rebounds with 9. Contributed a couple assists, a steal, and just had it overall maybe like a kind of MVP of the game type game. And Max had kind of had a few underwhelming games lately, to where we actually talked about on recent podcasts about his minutes being a little bit reduced. He wasn't in the closing lineup on Friday nights. So good, really good to see him kind of get back on track. And it's amazing. Like every time slumps don't last on this team. Like it's like literally they had 1 3-game losing streak, but they've had, what is it now? 41 games worth of winning streaks, between 3 winning streaks, and guys on the team. Yeah. I mean, I was kind of going back and forth with comments over the weekend when I was bored about guys. Some people one guy in particular wasn't very high on Dean Wade. And I said, you have to dig into the number. They're really down on Dean Wade because of his free throw percentage. I'm like, Dean Wade has shot 25 free throws all year in 63 games. It's not yes, we want to shoot a better percentage, but it's not impactful in any way because he's only shot so few. And his numbers overall the year are maybe a little bit lower than you would have liked, but he's actually in spurts has done really well. And he just contributes in so many kind of non-statistical ways on the defensive end, on hustle plays, on just being in the right place, setting good screens, he's great at swinging the ball, underrated passer. So all that's to say, and just using Dean as an example, and Max and Sam previously, this team everybody finds their time to contribute. And even if it doesn't happen for a few games at a time, it always comes back around and they get another opportunity and often cash in on that opportunity. Yeah.
And to hit on your Dean Wade point, he led all players on the floor tonight in plus minus.
Yeah.
His box score isn't stellar, 9 points, 3 rebounds, 1 assist, 1 steal, but he's guarding Giannis or getting switched onto Giannis most of the time. And so for a guy to kind of battle injury through the year, come back and still produce and still, affect the game in such a positive manner that he always does. I mean, when he's on the floor, he is Mr. Consistent.
Absolutely. Like the amazing thing is, so I was going to bring this up later, but I'll bring it up now. So Tim alluded to it on Friday night when it was him and I. Ty Jerome was on Ryan Russillo's podcast on Friday. I don't know if you got a chance to listen, Skylar, but I did. And Ty is saying a lot of the same things that we do about how amazing he's never been on or even remembers another NBA team that could easily go 12 or 13 deep without losing a lot. And some of the same, and it's amazing to hear from a guy on the team, the other stuff we say about like everyone putting their egos aside, everyone finding ways to contribute, everyone not, getting down or taking it personally if they don't play as many minutes one game or don't get as many shots. And it was a really good interview. I suggest anybody go listen to it. It was about a 20-something minute interview where Russillo tried to get him in trouble. He asked him who the tougher matchup was between Boston and OKC, and Ty was sitting there thinking about it. He's like, no, Ty, don't answer that. You don't give anybody material.
You don't need to give anybody bulletin board material.
Exactly. But it was so cool to hear. And we've heard other players say stuff like that before, but like, say the exact same things that we're seeing from the outside, there's people on the inside are saying, right? And it just makes the team like this team is so like fun in every way. They're fun because of the way they play. They're fun because of their top level talent. They're fun because of their like the depth of their talents. And they're fun because of like the attitude and the effort they bring every game. And they're fun because they win all the time. So
that's real fun.
Yes. But kind of getting back to the game tonight, I was curious. Like, I guess one sort of downside. Like, don't want to go overboard about it, but like Darius Garland has had kind of an underwhelming stretch here offensively, going on about like 2 or 3 weeks. It's funny, during the winning streak, his points per game is down to closer to like 15 points a game, where he's averaging like 21 on the season. His shooting splits are down, all that kind of stuff. And I was watching him closely the last couple games, trying to figure out why. It seems like the biggest difference is, 3-point shooting can come and go. I understand there's variance in that, but like Darius has been one of the best in the league at like floaters getting into the paint. And it seems like that has gotten away from him a little bit the last couple weeks. Have you seen anything with that?
Yeah, but it feels like he's trying to. It feels like he's trying to bait fouls, and instead of just kind of trying to score.
Yeah.
And not getting the whistle at whatever. It feels like a bad tactic to put something in the ref's hands. Yeah. So that mixed with kind of, like you said, the 3-point shooting kind of fading in and out. He's still, facilitating the ball. He's still trying to do as best he can. I think what really has thrown him off was that Boston game where they were hunting him defensively. It seems like ever since then, he's kind of had his confidence shaken a little bit.
Yeah, maybe. And I'm not worried about Darius like long term. Honestly, the biggest thing I was looking for is like, is he like nursing an injury or something like that? Especially with Darius, because he has some issues in the past, particularly getting hit in the face.
He leads the league in shots above the head.
Yeah, and so I was just kind of looking at that, and I think it could be an anomaly. Like, he's still contributing in a lot of ways. He's still high level playmaker and assists and all of those things. And so not worried about it. It's just something kind of keep an eye on. And my guess is it'll come back around probably in the near future. But again, honestly, I'm going to talk about a couple things that are like, they're negatives, but they lead up to a positive. And particularly like tonight was another bad shooting night. They were 39 of 88, about like 43% from the floor. They were 19 of 47 from three, not which isn't bad. Actually, the 3-point percentage improved quite a bit in the second half. But when you do things like that, and they got out rebounded. I think they had a couple more Milwaukee ended up more turnovers, but they did get out rebounded pretty significantly. And all that's to say, when you can have those kind of stats against you and then end up winning comfortably against the fourth best team in your conference, like that, I mean, you're not going to be perfect in every aspect of the game, but like in those very key aspects of the game, Cavs are having off nights and still winning. And some of the times, like tonight, winning comfortably. I mean, I just think that's incredible.
Yeah. And, the final score doesn't make it seem like it makes it seem closer than it was. The lead was up to like almost 20 before they kind of threw the garbage time in.
Yeah.
And, the lead was up to 20. Donovan Mitchell barely played in the fourth quarter against Giannis Antetokounmpo and Dame Lillard. It just speaks to like this is a team. We said it kind of maybe in the beginning part or the mid part of the year, but I think the NBA is switching away from a big three or superstar talent to being team basketball. You look at Boston; they're headlined by Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, but they are a team basketball. You look at the Thunder; they're headlined by Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, but the team, like they are team basketball.
I 100% agree. You're always going to need stars in your team to win big in this league. There's that is true, but the ideology of just overloading your talents and your salary cap distribution on the front end to like three guys and then trying to pick everybody up off of like minimum contracts and things like that. I agree that has kind of like worked its way out of the NBA, and the way to do it is you still need stars. Like you still need those I think I saw like no NBA team this century has won the title without having somebody on the first or second team All NBA. So that's proof of concept. You still need a star, right? And probably a couple of them, but you need much better balance on the roster and more kind of complementing parts on the roster. You need to do things like the Cavs are doing, like as key as it is for them, like the Donovan Mitchell trade, you could argue is like the biggest reason for this rebuild, but like all of those smaller moves that we covered, again, my favorite episode we ever done is the How the Cavs Were Built that we did over the All-Star break. Being able to, find guys on bargain deals, to develop guys in the G League and then promote them up to the team and have them on very team-friendly deals and contributing to winning at the same time. Those little deals add up to be, not as important, but of significant importance to build a team like this who, make no mistake, the Cavs are on pace to win 68, 69 games. That would be the second most wins this century in the NBA.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it is. But let's briefly talk about Milwaukee, just because this could be a possible playoff matchup, and I know we kind of talked about that, and then we'll move on to previewing the next game. Like Cavs go 4-0 against the Bucks this year. First two games were on a back-to-back early in the year, and they're both really tight games. I want to say like a 1 and 2 point victory. Then the Cavs played them towards the end of December, right after the NBA Cup, and they blew them out by like 30. And then you have tonight's game. I don't know. Those first three games are pretty early in the year. I don't know how much we learned from that. Particularly Milwaukee remodeled a lot of their role players at the trade deadline and everything. But like, what are your thoughts if this does end up being a second round matchup? Like your confidence level, maybe not an overall concern, but any particular concerns you would have?
I don't know if I really have any concerns going up against the Bucks. I mean, Giannis is going to get his, Dame's going to get his, but they rely heavily on somebody else needs to step up. And you saw it tonight where, a couple other guys got some shots up, like Kyle Kuzma. But then, like, after that, like, there's a huge drop-off between, anybody else. contributing really in any way. I mean, Brook Lopez is old and slow. He looks like he's fallen off a cliff this year.
I just love that you didn't even try and like massage that at all.
I mean, Taurean Prince is shooting 45% from the floor or from three this year, but I mean, he still only got 6 points. You know?
Yeah.
So, and Doc Rivers is another situation. So I don't like their coaching. I don't like their roster. I like their 2 stars. And the most so there are very few things that like fire me up, but like watching Giannis take free throws, I mean, good Lord, it fired like, come on, guy, just put it up there. Why was it 14 seconds for you to just figure out if you're going to shoot it or not? It's a free throw.
It's just because I love zagging so much. Like I've got to the point where I kind of like it, just because it makes everyone else so mad. I'm like, see how long you can go before they call you for it. No, I get it. It's like I think I'm mostly with you. I'm not like super concerned. I would say my only real concern, other than something happening to the Cavs, assuming the Cavs are fully healthy and going like they are now and have been for the whole season. Obviously my first concern would be any Cavs injuries, that kind of thing. But like, other than that, it would be to just kind of do what they did tonight and make sure Milwaukee like doesn't like shoot incredibly well from 3. That's one thing they can do well if you give them the opportunities. You mentioned Taurean Prince. AJ Green is a very good 3-point shooter. Dame, so their 3-point variance can be a thing in the NBA, that if a team makes, 7 to 10 more threes than the other team, they have a very, very good shot of winning. So that would be the only thing. I like, keep the Cavs healthy and how they are, being far and away the number 1, but number 2, just kind of do what you've done the last 2 times against them and make sure you limit the open threes. Like I would almost like let Evan and JA guard Giannis, knowing he's going to get his, without like coming off of him or doubling him and coming off of other guys and letting them get in a rhythm from the 3-point line.
Yeah, and they said it on the broadcast, they get a lot of threes up and they can hit them, but they have nobody to defend threes on. That's not Damian Lillard's game. That's not Kyle Kuzma's game. That's not Giannis's game. That's definitely not Brook Lopez's game. They don't have a lot of guys that can defend a 3-point shot. And the Cavs are the best in the league in 3-point percentages.
Yeah, the Cavs have a lot of advantageous matchups against Milwaukee, to be honest. Like, other than Giannis, who is one of the best defenders in the world, I don't think they have many other high-level defenders on that team. Brook Lopez was, but as you said, he's just old. He's just old. I don't think super highly of any of their like kind of wings or guards defensively. I think the Cavs can, tonight aside, I know Mitchell and Garland didn't have good games, but between them, Ty Jerome, I think they could really take advantage of a lot of matchups on the offensive end with Milwaukee. And so, yeah, if this matchup does come to fruition in the playoffs, I would be pretty confident. There'll always be like a 5% nervous. Anytime you go against one of the top 3 players in the world, I'm going to be 5% nervous. But I think, other than that, I think I would be pretty confident.
Yeah. So, I mean, this isn't the matchup that I'd be worried about. They don't have the guys that long, athletic wings. They have Giannis, who's athletic, super athletic. I mean, he plays bully ball. So other than that, like, they don't really have anything that makes you worried as far as a matchup or roster construction.
You have any thought? I mean, quick answer. We won't go into this too much, but like, do you think the Cavs match up better or worse against either the Bucks or the Pacers? Because those would most likely be one of those 2 would be their second round opponent.
Probably the Pacers. Pacers have played with some pace, and I think we talked about it the last time that they played the Pacers, that Miles Turner just gives Jared Allen fits. He's that mold of a young athletic stretch 5. So that mixed with Tyrese Halliburton kind of getting his season back to where what's out of expectations from him. I would not want the Pacers if we matched up.
Yeah, I agree. I think the Pacers, well, obviously not as talented as the Cavs, they do have a little bit more balance in their roster talent-wise, especially athletic. They're a very athletic team and a very kind of aggressive team. They made the Eastern Conference Finals last year and started off the season poorly, but have been on a run they've been flirting right around the 4th seed for most of the last few weeks. So I agree. I think I'd be pretty confident about either, but if you gave me my choice of the two, I'd probably take a slight preference to play in Milwaukee over Indiana. Alrighty. Well, before we get out of here, we can do a very quick preview because it doesn't need a long preview of the next game. Tuesday night, the Cavs play the Nets back in Cleveland. The Nets have gone into full-on tank mode now. Well, they were flirting with getting into the play-in. They've now lost 7 straight. They're streaking the other way. So any real thoughts on the Nets or anything we should watch? Plus, they actually are playing the Lakers tomorrow night, so they'll be on the back end of a back-to-back. I mean, really couldn't ask for a better setup than that to play the Nets the way they're playing right now on the second night of a back-to-back.
Leave the game healthy. That's it. I mean, the matchup predictor on ESPN, 8.4% for the Nets, 91.6 Cavs.
Yeah. And also say, and we learned Friday night in that game against the Hornets, like things can happen. The Cavs can be off like they were Friday night, and the other team could, hit a bunch of threes, or if one guy goes nuts the way that Bridges did on Friday night for the Hornets. So I never just count a victory before it happens, but this is about as advantageous of a spot to extend the win streak to 15, and then they have a much tougher game Friday night against the Grizzlies, which we'll preview on Tuesday night. All right, Skylar, anything else before we get out here?
I think that the Magic game got flexed, so now that's another nationally broadcasted game. So we're just kind of getting more and more of them here in this stretch. Yeah. 14 in a row.
I know.
I think I said it with you a couple of days ago. I want to beat the season or preseason win count or whatever projection just in win streaks.
That would be wild. Wild that we just previewed the 14th straight win, a double-digit win against a good team, and we barely talked about any of the big four. That's how good this Cavs team is now, that they can win double digits against good teams on a long win streak and not even get huge contributions from the big four that we really feel like we have to break it down after the game.
Yeah, exactly. This is wild.
It is. So for that, everybody, thank you for tuning in here on a Sunday night. Thank you to Blue Wire for letting us put this on. Thank you to Baby Daniel for being the newest Cavs fan. Hope you're not still up. It's way past your bedtime. Thank you to Tim Daniels not here, to Skylar. I'm Kevin Lynch, and as always,
go Cavs.